Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub. Now in this particular video, we'll be focusing on two topics, that is trigonometry and binomial expansion. And yes, it's a practice test number 2 for P1 9709 AS level math. Now let's look at the solution of each. This is May-June 2022, variant 1-3, question number 2. This first question is about trigonometry. It's about trigonometric sketch, a usual traditional question. The diagram shows part of the curve with the equation y is equals to p sine q theta plus r. So now it's good seeing that there are other alphabets in the English language besides A, B and C, and they have used P, Q and R. Where P, Q and R are constants, state the value of P, the value of Q, the value of R, each one for 1 mark. Now, when such a question comes, the usual thing that people ask the examiner or people ask the teacher, that from the examiner perspective, how the marks will be given. First of all, realize this fact, there are no half marks. That is the first thing. So either you'll be getting the first mark, the 1 mark, or not. You write this value. Without any calculation, you will get the mark. You don't write the value. Maybe your calculation is correct. Maybe your method is correct, you won't be getting any mark. It's as simple as this. It is what it is. That's how the saying goes. So now it says, state the value of P. Maximum value, 1. Minimum value, -5. The difference, divide by 2, is 3. You can also see, if I draw a line over here, this is 3 units, that is the amplitude. This is 3 units, that's the amplitude. State the value of Q. Q is the coefficient of theta. So it's y against theta. It could also have been y against x. So now what we see is that half a cycle in 360. So therefore you can write half directly or use this formula which you're aware of, taught very well in class, and then you find the value of Q. New period is 360 over Q or 2 pi over Q. Hence you find the value of half. New period is how much? New period is 4 pi. So let me just add a statement over here. That is 4 pi is equals to 2 pi over Q, and then we get this value, that is Q is equals to half. That is the working. What about this thing, R? So now the maximum value should have been 3 if there was no R. So you can write it like this, that if the question was y is equals to p sine q theta, the max would be p and min would be -p. That means if the value of p is 3 over here, so if this is 3, this would be 3, this would be -3, but 3 is becoming what? 3 is becoming 1. How is it becoming 1? Because it is climbing down 2 steps, therefore the value of R is -2. That's the working. That's the mark scheme, 1 mark for each. And then let's move on. The second question, that is February-March 2016, variant 1-2, question number 4a. So I'm a little bit particular whether it's February-March or May-June, I'm not very sure, but it's a past paper question, so let's just focus on this. Solve the equation sine inverse 3x is equals to -pi by 3. Give the solution in the exact form. So now everyone is well aware of what the exact form is in the level of P1. Let me write it down. So in P1, 3 things are considered exact form. The first one is fractions. A over B, positive, negative, doesn't make a difference. Fraction is a fraction. The second thing is answer in the third form, whether it's square root, whether it's cube root, whether it's fourth root, that is the third form. And the last but not the least, that is in terms of pi. So it's already in terms of pi, and exact form over here means the third form as well as the fraction form. So what we do is that we apply the concept sine inverse of something is this much. Therefore, 3x, this thing, is sine of this. Sine of this. Use a calculator or use your mind. Take care of the quadrant thing. -pi by 3, it's in the fourth quadrant. That's why sine is negative. Make x the subject. We have solved one question in class like this, but that answer was in decimals. A very, very similar question. Solve by factorizing the equation such and such. Now these are 4 terms, and this is called factorization by grouping. So this forms one group, this forms the other group. You can say that this is the next step, the second step of middle term factorization. So now you will take common out between these two, you will take common out between these two, you will take common out. The working is all good over here. Let cosine theta be denoted by C. Let sine theta be denoted by S. Life becomes simple. Sine equals to 1, cos equals to half. Whenever sine equals to half, negative 1 and 0, it's always wise to use a graph. Sine is 1 when theta is pi by 2 in this particular range. And over here, the 4-step solution that you are aware of, theta comes out to be pi by 3. Final answer is over here. So 2 questions are down. Let's move on. Question number 3, May-June 2019, variant 1-1, question 6. Prove the identity such and such. Hence solve this equation. Now the first part is about identity. 1 over cos, tan is written as sine over cos. So first of all, let's focus on this. This tangent over here, it's written as sine over cos. And then since it has a common denominator, you take LCM. So this is 1 minus sine over cos. And then cos is being squared. And cos square is written as 1 minus sine square. I'm just focusing on the denominator. Factorization, 1 plus sine, 1 minus sine. And over here, nothing changes. 1 minus sine whole square, 1 minus sine whole square, 1 minus sine whole square. There was nothing to expand. So now that you learn from experience, when to expand, when to let things remain intact. So now this is like indices. This is 1 minus s whole square. This is 1 minus s power 1. And what is happening over here? This 2 and this 1. So it gets cancelled. This 2 becomes 1. This 1 disappears. And you are left with these 2. So very nice question. And then it says, hence solve this equation. Now the trick is this. Over here, we have x, we have x. Over here, we have 2x, we have 2x. Got the idea? That is the only difference. That means if x is giving this thing, therefore this should be giving me what? This should be 1 minus sine 2x over 1 plus sine 2x. So over here, this s over here, which I have labeled a bit differently, that is basically s with this thing that stands for sine 2x. So make it very, very clear. So always make sure, yes, there is a hence, but there is also a little twist in it. So don't be a very blind follower. Okay, it just says hence, so let me just take this and equate to this. No, there is something more to it. This x becomes 2x, x becomes 2x. This is not double angle of P3. This is just a conversion. So x becomes 2x. This x will also become 2x. As simple as that. Instead of x, if there was a theta, it would be written as theta. What difference does it make? So now you would solve and you are getting this stage. Sine 2x is half. First and second quadrant. Now you will be getting 2 answers. Usually in a 360 revolution, you get 2 answers, but over here in even and a half a revolution, why are you getting 2 answers? Because both quadrants are applicable for us. Basic angle is pi by 6. First quadrant, theta is alpha, 180 minus alpha or pi minus alpha. Make x the subject, divide by 2, leave the answer in the exact form. So it's just a beautiful coincidence that whatever questions I've chosen so far, they are also giving answer in exact form. That is the solution, the mark scheme. Solution I have done, mark scheme is there, paste it for your satisfaction. Question number 4. Show that the equation can be expressed as such and such, where x is cos square theta. This is a perfect example of disguised quadratic equation. Hence solve this equation. So now first of all, what we do is this. 3 cos power 4 theta plus 4 sine square theta. So sine square is replaced. So let me replace sine square theta. So this is sine square theta that is replaced with 1 minus cos square. Expand, simplify, you get this thing. And then x is cos square theta, therefore x square is cos power 4 theta. That is how this is written. So stop where the examiner tells you to stop. Show. So the show part is done for 2 marks. Now it says hence solve this equation for theta between 0 and 180. So now comes the part of middle term factorization, the heart and soul of maths. MTF, the heart and soul of maths. So now you break it up, you find values of x. But what is x? X is cos square theta. So cos square theta equals to 1, cos theta is plus minus 1. Between 0 and 180, again we draw the graph. So cos theta is 1 when theta is 0, cos theta is negative 1 when theta is 180. This is out of range, that is why I have not written it. So two answers from here. Cos square theta is 1 over 3, cos theta is 1 over root 3, all four quadrants. Cos alpha is 1 over root 3, basic angle, work in 2 dp. Final answer 1 dp. First quadrant and second quadrant, because only two quadrants are applicable for us. Write the answer in the ascending form, in ascending order. Question number 5. This is May-June 2016, variant 1-2, question 5. Step number 1, step number 2, but before that, let me read the question. It says in the diagram, triangle ABC is right angled at C, that is C. And M is the midpoint of BC. M is the midpoint of BC, that means BC is 2x, so this is x, this is x. It is given that angle ABC is pi by 3, so ABC is pi by 3. This is 90, this is 60 degrees, therefore this is 30 degrees. 30 degrees in radians is pi by 6. So it is a basically 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, a very famous triangle. Denoting the lengths of BN and MC by x, that's written. Find AM in terms of x. Find AM in terms of x. So now AM is this thing. Now this is a multi-step problem. First of all, you have the base. You can use the height. You can find the height using this angle. That is step number 1. That is, let me highlight this. So now over here, if this green length is required, and let's say this blue length is there, so the blue length is BC. So BC is 2x. And this one is the green one, AC. So color change, that's the green one. Okay, so now AC is found. So there is AC over here. So I'm just changing the color to look good. So now I found AC using tangent and the exact value. Now step number 2, that is Pythagoras theorem. Now I need to find this thing, the purple line, that is over here. So now there is, this angle is not given. This base is given, this height is given. AM can be found using Pythagoras. MC square, which is x square. AC square, AC is this much. Square it, you get this thing. This comes out to be 13x square. Therefore, AM is square root of this thing. X square, the square root is x. 13 square root is written as root 13. 3 marks for this. So technically 1 mark for this and 2 marks for this. Adding it up and something like that. Show that theta is this much. Yes, 2 marks, but this was the difficult one. So let me mark it with a star. So this was difficult over here. Now what I have done is that I'm using that concept of 30, 60 and 90 degree triangle. 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Now if I focus on this one, this is, whole thing is 30 degrees or pi by 6. So theta plus beta is pi by 6. That is the first statement. Now if I work for tangent beta and I'm working in the small right angle triangle, this is the opposite, this is the hypotenuse, this is the adjacent. MC over AC, opposite over adjacent, this comes out to be 1 over root 3, therefore beta is tan inverse of this. Now again join forces with the first statement. Theta plus beta is pi by 6. Theta plus beta is pi by 6. Theta is pi by 6 minus beta. So I have written the value of beta in the exact form. And that is exactly the answer. Now let's move to the other question, which is question number 6. Now this is a question of binomial. It's of May, June 2020, variant 1 to question 11. Question number 6 has 2 parts. The first part for 2 marks, the second part for 3 marks. Find the coefficient of x square in the expansion of x minus 2 over x raised to power of 6. Now first of all, you need to realize that this is a question related with particular term formula, and in particular term formula, the formula is NCR, a raised to power of n minus r, b raised to power of r. You also need to realize what is the value of n. The value of n is 6. What else do you need to realize? That this x over here, that is in place of a. And this thing over here, that's the purple one, the negative, the 2, the x, that is your b. And then we will use this formula to find that particular term, which will give me an overall coefficient of x squared. That is for the first part, only for 2 marks. Now sometimes they give less marks. I think it should be worth at least 3 marks. Now this is a 3-step solution. That is the terminology that I have used in class. X minus 2 over x raised to power of 6. And let me just use the same colors over here. So this 2, this x, this negative, that is what? That is your b over here. And then over here, this x, that is your a, that is right over here. And then the value of n is 6, that is over here. So now what is the missing piece of the puzzle? The missing piece of the puzzle is finding the value of r. So 6cr, b raised to power of r, a raised to power of 6 minus r. So now this is step number 1. Let me highlight it. This is step number 1. What is step number 2? Step number 2 is gather powers of x. So 1 is multiplying with 6 minus r. 1 is multiplying with 6 minus r. Plus sign. Use brackets excessively. Negative 1 is multiplying with r. Negative 1 is multiplying with r. And this equals to 2. So now what needs to be done? We should gather all this and equals to 2, because we are looking for coefficient of x square. Coefficient of x square. So gather the powers of x equated to the power of the required term. And then we do all the working over here and we find the value of r equals to 2. Now we are on the 3rd step. That is place r where it belongs. So r belongs over here. So r is this one. That is this 2. That is this 2. And 6 minus 2 is 4. And then we simplify. And just be very, very careful with the working. 6c2, use a calculator. That is 6c2 comes out to be 15. X raised to power of 4, negative 2 raised to power of 2 is positive 4. And this x raised to power of 2 is 1 over x square. It simplifies to x square. And 15 into 4 is 60. All good, all clear. Now in part B, it says hence, it does not say hence. Find the coefficient of x square in the expansion of a simple bracket that has a power of 1, multiplying with this thing that was from part 1. Now maybe deliberately they did not use the word hence. Yes, of course some result will be used from the top, but at the same time you need an additional term, because if you're gonna expand it all, there will be 7 terms. There will be a term which is a constant, as well as there is an x square term. Why do we need a constant? So now this was something new. Why do we need this constant? Because this constant will multiply with this x square term over here. So now work for x0 term, term independent of x. This first part is the same. In the second part, this is exactly the same. So this is 6 minus 2r. This is exactly the same over here. And now we are equating to 0 because we are looking for the x0 term. We find r is equals to 3. We know that r will always come out to be a positive integer or 0, because r tells you the position of the term in the series. Plug it in over here, 6c3, that comes out to be 20. And this is x cube, negative 2 cube, that remains negative. 1 over x cube, x cube, x cube cancels. And then we get this answer. Let me just change it all into one color so that it looks good. And that is right over here. So now this is this much, and then we get negative 160 x power 0. So now the ending of the story, is this. Now when you will multiply it out, these two are the terms from before. We need the constant, we need the x square term. Now how will we selectively multiply? We will take this constant and we will multiply with the x square. So that is 2 into 60. Similarly, we will take this x square term and we will multiply it with the constant. So that is x square with the constant. Take care of the negative sign. We are adding it all up. So 120 minus 480. The overall coefficient is negative 360. This is the coefficient of x square. Are they asking for coefficient? Yes, they're asking for the coefficient. So that is the answer for this particular part. Coefficient is 60, coefficient is negative 360. So now let's move to the next one. Last question, May, June 2020, variant 1 to question 4. Expand 1 plus a raised to power of 5 and ascending powers of a up to and including the term in a cube. 1 plus a raised to power of 5, expand, you get 4 terms. Again, this part was kind of tricky. Hence, expand this thing in ascending powers of x up to and including the term in this thing. Now, the catch over here is this thing. Over here, this is a. Over here, in place of a, we have this. This power 5, this power 5, this one is exactly the same. What has changed? A is replaced with x plus x square. So there is this a that is replaced with x plus x square. So whenever you see an a, just replace it. So this is x plus x square. This is x plus x square. This is x plus x square. Over here, you have to square it. These are the 3 terms. Over here, you have to cube it. These are the 4 terms. I have done the cubing right over here on the sidelines. And then what else is there? And then pick the selective terms. So which ones are these selective terms? I need all the way till x cube. I need this, I need this, I need this. That's it. Of course this, of course this, of course this. And then I add it all up. This is the answer right over here. This is the answer right over here. So that's about it. That's all from Mathematics with Shahab Yaqub. So we have done very, very nice past paper questions of trigonometry and very, very nice past paper questions of binomial expansion. Take care, everyone.